everybody, to the Week 7 feature of the Philly Sports Report's Eagles pregame show, brought to you by SeatGeek. Today, the Philadelphia Eagles look to go 7-0 as they take on cross-state rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, at the Link. My name is Benjamin Goldstein. I am joined by Sam Hine. Sam, how are we doing?
I'm still recovering from last night and that Phillies loss, but it's okay. We're heading back to the bank. But I'm doing good because the Eagles are finally back after the bye week. Hopefully they can lift our spirits and come home with a W today.
I'm going to tell you right now, I think the Eagles will be lifting their spirits. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not super angry about the Phillies loss last night. Splitting in Houston is exactly what I wanted. I mean, obviously going up 2 would be great, but they got the job done, what they needed to do. And now they come home to Philly for 3 games where it's going to be absolutely electric, and they're going to win in 5. So, it's just that easy.
I like it.
Let's start this show off with our quarterback matchup. We have Kenny Pickett for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we have Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. Take me through Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, so Kenny, obviously the rookie out of Pitt, playing for his hometown team, even though the Eagles are technically his hometown team. He struggled so far since taking over as the starter for Mitch Trubisky. He has 7 interceptions to only 2 touchdowns, only 770 passing yards. So he's prone to throwing the ball up. He's prone to making mistakes. One way that he can beat you is he's okay at getting out of the pocket and, making some things happen with his legs. But so far in the NFL, he hasn't really shown much. I mean, they have played decently well in their last 2 games, but he's definitely prone to the turnover.
He sure is. Last week against the Miami Dolphins, Kenny Pickett was 32 for 44 with 257 yards. He threw 1 touchdown, had 3 interceptions, and was sacked twice for 11 yards with a QB rating of 44.8. You said he throws a lot of picks. He had 3 last week, which is a lot. And with our cornerbacks, Bradbury, Slay, they get a lot of interceptions. So watch them to get a lot of interceptions today.
Yeah, and I wasn't watching last week's Sunday night game, but one of the big topics on Twitter that a lot of people were talking about is how he had a chance to, take a touchdown to take the lead late in that game and just didn't see it. So that's another thing that could be big for us. Disguising coverages, make him, try to read the field, because obviously as a young quarterback, as we normally see, they're not as great at that, and especially somebody like him that's shown that he's not as great as that so far this year. That's definitely something that we can take advantage of, not being able to see the field as well.
Sure is, and watch this D-line to get some more sacks today as well. We move to the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. Last week against Dallas, or actually 2 weeks ago against Dallas, he was 15 for 25 with 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 4 times with a QB rating of 66.9. How do you feel about Jalen Hurts going into this?
I feel good. I think it's a good matchup for him. The Steelers are really bad against the run, and they play a lot of man coverage, so it's going to lend to be really good for our receivers. But the one thing I will worry about Jalen is that the Steelers do play Lamar Jackson a ton, obviously because he's in their division. So it's not going to be one of these cases where these teams, sometimes when we get teams outside the division, they've never played a running quarterback like Jalen before because he's so rare. There's only probably him, Lamar, and I guess Kyler, even though Kyler doesn't run as much anymore. So I think that that's something that we should be a little bit worried of, is that they do play a running quarterback all the time, so they know how to stop it. So I think they're going to, be able to force Jalen to stay in the pocket. But I just think that, with the way that they play their defense, they don't really stack their box a lot, so we'll be able to run it, and they're the worst rushing defense in the NFL. And like I said, they play a ton of man coverage, which we've seen the Eagles wide receivers be able to just absolutely destroy this year. So I think it's going to be a big day for Jalen from the pocket.
With that, are we having another dominant Hurts day against the Steelers today?
I think so, yeah. I think the arm is going to be the biggest factor today. Like I said, they're going to try to keep him in the pocket, and I just think that our wide receivers are going to be better than their corners, especially against man. And if they send help over one guy, then, man on man, that means that Devontae's going to be one-on-one. Or if Devontae's having a big game down the field, then that means then AJ is going to be one-on-one. So I just think that it's going to be a big day from the arm from Jalen.
I totally agree with that. The Eagles a few days ago traded for Robert Quinn from the Chicago Bears and only give up a fourth round pick. He is active today wearing number 98. What role will he serve today for the Birds?
I think he's going to play a little bit today. I shouldn't, we shouldn't expect him to play a ton of snaps today as he's still getting in there. But the good thing about defensive line is that, you know, especially if he's going to be a pass rusher, it's not exactly a full scheme kind of thing. It's not like I think they're just going to put him in there on obvious passing downs and say, go get the quarterback. So I think he's going to play a little bit, but not a ton as they're still working him in. But I think, overall for the future, he's going to play that Derek Barnett role where the Eagles love to have a deep defensive line rotation, and I just love this trade for us. Honestly, fourth round pick, they're eating most of the salary, so I just think he's going to rotate. None of our guys on the defensive line play a ton of snaps, and he was playing I think 70-something% of the snaps in Chicago. So now when he comes here, he can play less snaps, be fresher, get in with different guys. So I think we'll see him in like a backup line role, but that doesn't mean he's not going to get on the field.
I totally agree with that. Before we move on to the next segment, the Eagles are playing well. The Phillies are in the World Series. The Flyers are looking good. The Union to play their Eastern Conference final game today. The Sixers are
There.
They're just there. But if you want to get, you got to get some tickets for these games. The Philly sports is unbelievable right now. It's a great time to be a Philly sports fan, and you have to get to some games, but tickets are very, very expensive. It's ridiculous. Phillies World Series tickets are going for over $1,000. If you want to actually sit, you have to pay over $1,000 for a ticket. I can save you some money on SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the ticketing app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. All you have to do is download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Search in your favorite team. I'm going to search in the Philadelphia Eagles because I want to get to an Eagles game. When you click on the Eagles game, click the green dots, not the red dots, or the yellow dots. Click the green dots. The green dots are the good deals. The other ones stink. Stay away from those. At checkout, where it says coupon code, you're going to type in there Philly Sports Report, and you can save $20 off your first purchase. Again, that is code Philly Sports Report to save $20 off your first purchase. When looking for tickets, check SeatGeek first and use that code right there. Any notable matchups from you today for today's Week 7 matchup?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest notable matchups will be the Eagles defensive line versus the Steelers offensive line. The Steelers have a pretty poor offensive line, and I think that that's going to come into play for us today, especially because we're adding Robert Quinn. Like I said, he might not play a ton of snaps, but he's going to play. And Hassan Reddick's been on fire. And all these dudes coming off a bye with fresh legs, I just think they're going to dominate on the line today. Get to Pickett, make him throw stuff up early. And then also, defensive line pressure obviously helps the secondary. So I think one of the biggest things to look for would be the Eagles' defensive line versus Steelers' O-line today.
I totally agree with that. You kind of stole it right out of my head, right out of my mouth, because I was about to say that. The injury report today, the Eagles have nobody on their injury report. They have a clean sheet today. Meanwhile, the Steelers' injury report, they have a few guys on their injury report. Defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi has a knee injury. He's out today. And cornerback Levy Wallace has a shoulder injury. Their kicker, Chris Boswell, with a groin injury, is out. And then I don't know when this was updated, but cornerback Josh Jackson with a groin injury. He's questionable at what I'm looking at, but he's
out too.
He's out. He's out today.
Yeah.
I don't know when this article was updated. How are those injuries going to affect the Eagles today?
Well, we saw in Arizona the difference of having a healthy kicker to a backup kicker, what the difference that makes. So I hope that the Eagles aren't going to be in as close to the game today as they were in Arizona. But, if it does come down to it, they got a backup kicker out there. The cornerbacks, neither of them are starters, but they're both their top backup guys. So it would be big if, one of their cornerbacks did go out early with an injury. They got no backups left. So they're going to have to, try to shift things around. So that could be potentially big. And then, the Ogunabi guy, he's a starting defensive lineman. And, the Eagles, that just helps our O-line because, everybody knows how dominant our offensive line is and how we're the best running attack in football against already the worst running attack for in football in the Steelers D line. So losing a starter on defensive line for them obviously is not going to help them. But I think that the kicker is probably could be the biggest factor in the game that you'd see.
Could be. Keys to the game brought to you by SeatGeek. Again, use code Philly Sports Sports. Save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Keys to the game. What are yours?
So I got two. So kind of touched it on it already, but the Eagles' defensive line needs to dominate the Steelers' bad O line today. I feel like if they get pressure on Pickett, he's gonna just throw it up, kind of like I feel like you can kind of get like a Kirk Cousins game out of him, like we had, where if you just are getting guys in his face, he's just gonna throw it up there and hope that somebody makes a catch. He does have pretty good receivers that can make wild catches, but I like our cornerbacks better, and if we get pressure on him, he's just gonna throw it up. And one of the biggest things that people talked about before the draft was Pickett was how small his hands were. That hasn't led to any fumbles so far this season, but you never know. Hassan Reddick leads the league in forced fumbles. So if he gets in there, he can. I just feel like, Pickett's so prone to turnovers that if we get pressure on him and start hitting him early, he's not going to want to stay in there and stay in the pocket and deliver passes. And then one of the biggest things, it's not really like a matchup key, but I think it's scoring in the second half. We've shown that we haven't really been able to do that. So hopefully after the bye, the coaches hopefully can figure out why that's not happening. And one of our biggest things is not being able to put teams away when we're supposed to. We've had 14-point leads in every single game so far this season. And, we saw last week in Dallas that they almost came back. Arizona, same thing. So hopefully we can score in the second half, and hopefully we're dominating in the first half as well. Keep that going, but put teams away in the second half, score in the second half, and hopefully get that figured out and move to 7-0.
Scoring in the second half is a biggie. My key to the game is taking advantage of Kenny Pickett. You said to get to him when he throws the ball. A good portion of his throws are not accurate, and Darius Slay and James Bradbury expect multiple picks by both of them today. My key to the game for both of them is to get picks, because Kenny Pickett. I mean, when your name's Pickett, you've got to throw some picks. So watch out for the picks from Pickett. That's my key to the game. Let's move on to the predictions. Mr. Sam Hine, what is your prediction for today's Week 7 matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers?
So the Steelers have played well the last 2 weeks, taking down the Bucs, but I don't think they take us down today. I think that we get out to a big lead, and I think we put that lead away in the second half. I think they score a touchdown late, but I think we win 27-14, remain NFL's last undefeated team, and then head down to Houston. Hopefully not with the Phillies.
Hopefully not, but possibly. I was going to say 27-14, so now I have to scramble a little bit. So I'm going to go. I think it's another good game. I think Hurts has another good day. I think the defense plays well. I think it's going to be an overall good game. I do think they're going to get a couple scores, but it is what it is. I have the Eagles winning 21-10 today.
All right, I like it.
There you go. That'll do it. Anything else from you today that I didn't have on the agenda?
No. I think we covered everything.
Right.
I guess the only other thing would just be, another key, I guess. Najee Harris hasn't really had that great of a year so far, but we've seen that bigger running backs we've kind of struggled with so far this year. DeAndre Swift, who's able to, make guys miss, break tackles. They've kind of had success. Ezekiel Elliott 2 weeks ago now. So I think that Najee, even though he hasn't had a great year so far and their offensive line struggling, we struggled in that area on defense. That's one of our weakest points. So, watch out for him. And hopefully, if we limit him, if we leave it up in Pickett's hands and hold Najee, then I think it's going to be a blowout.
Speaking of blowout, they're going to have to score in the second half if you want this score.
I don't know. Their second quarters are pretty explosive. Maybe they'll get 35 in the second quarter. Just pick six.
That would be pretty fun. This has been Week 7 of the pregame show here on Philly Sports brought to you by SeatGeek. We're going to say it again. Use code Philly Sports Save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow all of our social medias, and check out phillysportsports.com after the game for our game recap by one of our Eagles analysts. Week 7. We're basically halfway through the season. It's technically Week 8. but this is our
Yeah.
7th game. So
Yeah.
we're really halfway through the season already, which is ridiculous. But thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the game, everyone. And go Birds!
Go Birds and go Phils.
Let's go!